what we find, I hear this all the time, is, from a marketing perspective, we don't have the same level of information that the big six banks have.
Right.
From a marketing perspective, we don't have the same collateral, the advertising. Then from a technology perspective, we don't have, our mobile app is kind of clunky, or the internet banking presence. And so the best advice we can give them is get back to basics. There lies the strengths of the mid-size bank. It's get back to what do you do best, and that is form a relationship, take advantage of the relationship, and nurture what the customers are telling you, what their opinion is on how you're doing things, how the industry, look at the industry as a whole from a benchmarking perspective, and learn from that. And if you're doing some of those things, great. If you're not, start. And so that's what I think. It all gets back to how expensive is this as well, because they hear the name J.D. Power, and sometimes they think, well, you're far more focused on the big banks. We can't afford this. That is not necessarily the case. Now, any dollar is a big chunk of change from a margin perspective. However, you have to put it in the perspective of how much is attrition costing you today? How much is runoff costing you? What if you could increase cross-sell by 5%, 10%? This is what the information tells you.
Well, I think there's a bit of a misconception about J.D. Power. Being that I've been selling to mid-sized banks for quite a while now, you kept hearing, well, we're not ranked. Why would we want to use you? We're not profiled in your study. Why would we want to? We're not going to get any value out of that. I have a budget of $20,000. I can't afford J.D. Power. You work with the big guys. Those misconceptions, they're put aside now, because it's not about ranking. It's not about scores and how you level. It's about how do I take insights that are key to driving people to my business that's going to drive bottom line revenue. What works and what doesn't work? What do I need to push back from? I can't boil the ocean. So what are those key things that the best are doing? And what can I gain from those? And how do I push that across my enterprise? Drive culture change. So people every day, every moment are saying, how am I adding value? You don't need to be ranked to get that. We already have that information. We can help you get to the right point and take the steps to make it happen.
The Gen Y households, millennial households, are the most likely to attrite from a mid-sized bank. We know that. So and those are also the ones that everybody is sort of looking for, right? The big six are looking to go after them, the regional banks and every other credit union, mid-sized institution. And attrition will kill you quick. I mean, if you can open up 500 new households in a month, but if you've lost 300, you're always trying to make up. So the issue becomes, how does it help? Well, if you can start to tell what on the study, for instance, channel incidents. How are customers using you post point of sale? And it breaks out by branch, mobile, all the different channels of retail. Well, that starts to outline for you what your opportunity is specifically with those households. I mean, you can then tell what should we be doing, how often can we take advantage of things? Because it's again building the relationship then, having a candid conversation about financial needs, tailored to the life stage of the individual that you're talking to.
Right.
And then we literally see a huge percentage of those households will buy more from you as a result of that. So you'll deepen wallet and thus cut back on attrition. So attrition is one of the biggest things that's the issue.
And the beauty of it is we have the data that supports that.
Right.
There's a direct correlation to higher the satisfaction, the higher your level of assets, deposits, loans, overall. The data is there. We have it. We know it. And we have case by case that can speak to that. So, for those companies saying, I kind of want to work with you, I can't work with you, give us a try. We can do it.
Right. The bank doesn't have to be ranked in order to gain information from this kind of data. But just as Todd just said, I mean, it's like every time when you look at this information, you can see not just best practices, but you also look and if you're not included in the study today, the other information that you gather is what are we doing that we shouldn't be, or what are we not doing? How do we emulate some of these practices?
Right.
And how do we go after that? Because there are some things, we always say, you can, in-branch best practice, were you greeted? Were you thanked? Did they use your name? Those are pretty quick fixes if it's not happening today. However, offering financial advice that meets the needs of the customer and the life stage that they happen to be in, those are things that are going to take some training. Those are things that are going to take more work than just an email from the CEO saying, start using people's names.
Right.
That means you're going to have to really revisit how are we talking to customers. And if you know that, again, how do you apply all of this to strategy? Because you've got forecasts and growth goals that you have to attain. How do you apply all of this to that so that it then comes back and makes your life a little bit easier because you know what the customers are thinking? That's where it becomes critical. And it addresses literally a variety of issues across the board from a retail banking perspective.